Hello, everyone. What's up, gangos? But I want to start talking about solely self-improvement. I feel like it's a big factor in my life, and these other videos that I've made, I was trying to build a consistency, but I wasn't putting out videos with good effort. And now I have a focus. I want to focus on self-improvement. I want to teach people based on what I went through and things that I did in self-improvement. And you hear about all types of exercise, meditation, and even specific stuff like No Fap, which is what I want to talk about today. I started it. I started the whole like looking into No Fap. I think February 2022, and just recently, like 3-4 months, has it finally like paid off. And I was like I realized like when you do No Fap, it's very hard, especially in the beginning. It's literally like an addiction, and you need to cut it off eventually. And it takes a long time, like even longer than you thought. Like I thought I would finish within 6 weeks. I thought I'd finish within 6 months. I thought I'd finish within 1 year. And no, it's like your brain starts making up new methods and new tactics, and you still continue. You finally finished the whole idea of No Fap when you stop like when you stop needing to track it, when you stop looking into it, just the thought of doing it repulses you. And you'll feel that a couple times in the beginning, and you'll realize that's how you're supposed to really feel, and it'll make you like want to continue the journey. And I feel like I stopped so many times. And I'll even tell you right now, like when I did it in February, I think I kept losing. Like you're gonna essentially, you need to build up a streak of continually not masturbating or watching porn or nothing, right? I stopped watching porn a long time ago, but with the internet and access to everything, you would still just be masturbating or whatever. And so the longest, I stopped watching porn like for years now, so that was never really an issue. I think that's a lot easier to cut out. You just gotta tell yourself don't watch this, and as soon as you like even try typing on it, just exit out, go on TikTok or some bullshit, right? Which is not also good. But masturbating is a lot harder to cut out because your brain starts making up all these excuses. Oh, it helps me sleep, it helps me relax, I feel so happy, this and that. But it's like that's why you're not supposed to do it, and I'll go further into that. But with porn, if you're still watching porn, that's really bad, because that shit, the longer you watch it, it really just starts like the way I describe it is like it taints a part of your mind, and it really fucks your shit up because you start having unrealistic expectations of sex and women, and you start fantasizing, having all types of scenarios in your head. And it's like as you get older, you realize that's not normal behavior, and you're gonna want to change that. And if you don't, you're gonna start leading stuff to like not being able to talk to women in real life, always having false expectations, erectile dysfunction. Like you're gonna lead to a lot of shit, which also can come from masturbating. But porn's even worse. Like I said, porn's easier to cut out. But for No Fap, the longest I've ever went was 7 weeks, and I think the longest after that was like 6. But that was like a year later or something. But you're not really focused on trying to get the longest amount of days ever. Like there's people who go for 10 months or whatever and they break it. It's like you want to get into a habit of not even wanting to do it at all. And so I remember when I was going through this, I had to write down like all my thoughts and the data that I collected per se, because you could read whatever you want to read online. You can watch all types of stuff online, and a lot of times it's bullshit. I feel like it's different per human. Everybody goes through different things. Everybody's been doing it for different amounts of time. Everybody has different control over their urges. People have different levels of self-improvement and wanting to improve and stuff. I hope that if you're watching this, you do want to improve, and you do want to stop, and you want to better your life, and you want to feel the powers. Like that whole shit is bullshit too. The whole like you start feeling ethereal. I mean, I can see what it meant. You're just not gonna actually get powers and nothing. You just feel so much more better and like content with life. And so like I have so much stuff written down from what I've collected based on like my own experience, and I have even just thoughts on top of that. So like essentially you want to cut it out because it fucks up your mind. I would always, if you find yourself using excuses like, oh, masturbating's fine, you're supposed to clear your system out, it gives me clarity, I sleep better, I'm not horny anymore, whatever. That's all bullshit excuses. Like you're essentially giving yourself a justification on why you want to continue doing it, even though as a majority of the time you shouldn't be doing that, right? So you gotta let go of giving yourself any like justification, any excuse. As soon as you hear yourself saying that, you're about to do it, and you give yourself, yeah, it's good for you, this and that, because you're only doing it to convince yourself, to allow yourself to do it. Don't. immediately tell yourself, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Snap out of it. And so I did this for months. I like I said, I collected data based upon my own experience, which I think you should do as well. You should write down everything. You should see how often you break, your longest streak, how you feel. Like I seen heavy changes in my action, my distractions, my motivation, my work ethic, my happiness, my hunger, my sleep. Like everything starts changing. And in the beginning, it sucks for a long time. You're not gonna be able to sleep, and you're gonna be like, is this even worth doing? I'm losing so much on my sleep. Your energy levels start like going up and down on day to day. Some days you're super tired, some days you have super amount of energy, whatever, right? It's gonna suck for a long time. I'm telling you that right now. 6 months, a year and a half. But you're not doing this. You have to think about doing this in a way where it's like you were watching porn and masturbating for years of your life. So to undo it is not going to be done in a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, or whatever. It's going to take a long time to essentially undo all the damage that you did previously, right? So on top of that, it's going to suck for a very long time, and you're doing it, like even if it took a year, 2 years to fix it, the rest of the 40, 50, 60 years you live will be worth it without having to keep giving into this sort of addiction. And that's why you got to do it. When you not whatever, you feel happy, you feel clarity, you'll be like, oh, I'm not horny anymore. And I don't know why, for a long time I saw being horny as bad. I work out almost every day, right? And so when you work out a lot, you have higher testosterone as well as that you're a growing boy. If you're a teen going into your young adulthood or whatever, and you have increased libido, which is like your sex drive. And so every time I would be horny, I would have all these thoughts, as one does, and I would be so mad. Like, not mad, but I'd be like, why am I feeling horny, this and that? I should just be productive, I should just be thinking and not letting these, because when you're horny, your thoughts don't let you really think. You start only thinking about women and piping and all types of stuff. So I guess you used to anger me, but there's nothing wrong with being horny. You're supposed to be horny. You're human, you're a growing boy, you have high libido, whatever, right? So one of the things I used to always try is like, when nutting, I would get rid of my horniness, and that was good, but that's not good. You're supposed to be horny. It's connected to your testosterone, and if you're horny, that means your testosterone is at a stable level, which it should be. It shouldn't be under. And so I also wrote stuff like, after nutting, everything felt better in life. Music sounded better, driving felt better, workouts felt more accomplishing. You feel this level of dopamine you don't normally feel. You feel happier. And I'm gonna get into all of that. But so yeah, like I said, my longest time was like 7 weeks. On average, I would break like every 2 to 5 days, especially in the beginning. When you start like building up your days, and maybe you go 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and you're like, okay, I'm doing really well, blah blah blah, you're probably gonna get a wet dream. And it's like, in this whole like no fap theory or whatever, it's said that like, wet dreams don't break it, sometimes it breaks it, whatever, right? In my head, it breaks it because you're releasing. And normally when you have a wet dream, is because you kind of caused it to a certain degree. You were having thoughts before you went to bed, maybe you watched something before you went to bed, or whatever. Maybe you were edging something. You did something to cause that wet dream. It didn't just happen sporadically. And so, but it will happen, and it's nothing to be like super upset about. It's annoying, but get up, shower, clean yourself up, and know that you gotta restart the process. But yeah, so my theory was, when you nut, your dopamine levels spike. So how our dopamine works is like, it's on a stable line, right? And you're supposed to be stable the whole time. And when you nut, it goes all the way up here. So now you're feeling super levels of dopamine. You feel happy with everything. Everything feels good. Food tastes better, music sounds better, driving even sounds fun, whatever, right? Because your levels of dopamine are super high. And for me, typically, that high lasted like 18 to 20 hours. But then after those 18, 20 hours, it comes, this is a stable line, it goes up here, and to readjust to get back to stability, it has to go all the way below stability to eventually equal out, right? So if you go up 2, you need to come down to -2 to come back to 0, okay, if that makes sense. And so when you're at -2, life fucking sucks. Like, I used to hate it. Like, my mood, like, I'm not typically someone who would go through depression, But those times you literally felt like depression. I didn't want to work, I didn't want to go to the gym, I didn't want to do schoolwork. I just wanted to lay in bed and do nothing all day. I just wanted, like, I literally just wanted to like crawl up and do nothing. And like, that's not a way to live. Like, you shouldn't ever feel like that. It's not masculine, it's not healthy, it's not how anyone really should live. And so I hated that feeling. I said I would do anything to not feel this anymore. And even if that meant not getting on the highs, so I don't have to feel the lows, it was worth it for me. And that's why I kept pushing and thinking through this. I kept pushing forward. I said, okay, I'm not gonna touch myself because I don't want to go through that low. Like, that low was my punishment, and it made me consistently go through it. And when you start staying at that stability level, you realize all the positives that come with it. But you don't realize this when you're constantly nutting and all this bullshit. So like, when you stay stable, like at that midline, your sex drive naturally increases. You're naturally motivated. You actually want to talk to women in real life. All natural good things that you're supposed to be doing as a man. Not like, if you even think about the idea of you become horny and then you go into your bed or you go into the bathroom and you pull up your phone and you're like watching these little fucking videos of other people having sex, and it's all rehearsed and played, and you're literally essentially a cuck and you're a loser. If you even think about, like, even just like, if you, the next time you even try touching yourself, think about like, if you had to watch yourself doing this, like, try to have an out-of-body moment just watching yourself. Like, you look like a fucking loser, and it, like, when that thought starts going through your head, even just the act of doing it, or like the motions you're taking to go do it, you're like, oh my god, like, what am I doing? Like, if you have any sort of self-respect, you'll realize this is not what I want to be doing. This is ass. Like, I'd rather be talking to a woman in real life, trying to, get my way, take her out, this and that, whatever you got to do to actually have physical connection with a woman, not some bullshit that you're watching like a cuck. And so when you're staying at the stability line, you get more motivated, and you naturally become more confident, because you're not succumbing to such a disgusting act. And on top of all of that, once you realize your hand isn't as easily accessible because you don't want to use your hand to nut, you like, okay, how can, like, if you're gonna solve the problem, how can I nut? It has to be with a woman. So now you gotta actually take the actions of trying to get with a woman. You gotta talk to her, take her out, put the motions in place or whatever, right? So you need to understand that your hand isn't easily accessible. It shouldn't be. And when your sex drive naturally increases, you want to improve your life, because you're like, okay, how am I gonna have more sex? I need to improve my life so people are more attracted to me. I want to increase my looks. I want to become stronger. I want to make more money. You start thinking about all types of things that you can do and should do anyway as a man, and you start working towards them, because your sex drive just naturally gets higher and higher, which means your urge to improve your life also gets higher and higher. It's like equal. And you won't naturally get that if you're just constantly beating your meat and the sex drive never goes up and up. If your sex drive is always here, your urge to improve life is always going to stay here. So you want this to increase, so this will increase. And like, with me, I would always make some bullshit excuse with like girls. I would be like I'd be attracted to this one girl, and then I would see her another time, like maybe post nut some like couple days or whatever, and I would be like, oh yeah, she's not even that attractive. Oh, she doesn't even dress that well. Oh, she doesn't look like she has a good, like, I would make all these types of bullshit excuses when it was just me being in a post nut state where I was fine with not talking to women. I was fine with just using my hand. I was fine with being a loser and being like a cuck, and just using my hand as like my girlfriend or something, right? And so you can't be doing that. That post-nut clarity you feel, you need to use that as a lesson. So, like I said, it's gonna be hard to stop this addiction, because it is an addiction. And once you stop, you're gonna, maybe you go 1 day, 2 days, or whatever, you're gonna break. You're gonna break eventually. You're gonna break for a long time, 6 months to a year, minimum, I think, right? And every time you get that post-nut clarity lesson where it's like, damn, I shouldn't have done that, damn, and you start like going through all these negatives, like I told you, you need to use all of those as lessons. You should write them down, because you're not gonna remember them. Write them down, and the next time you have the urge to go touch yourself, read all these and know that this is how you're gonna feel right after. Is it really worth it? Is it worth that like 2 minutes of touching yourself to really go through all these emotions for the next 20 hours or so? And like, when you are constantly in a state of nutting and fapping to yourself, I feel like the thought of talking to a woman in real life is like the scariest thing. I don't know what the connection is really, but I feel like it has to do with like knowing that your hand is so easily accessible that, and you see women as nothing more than just a sex object, which you're not supposed to. You're dehumanizing women, but the thought of just you're using your hand only, and you're like, why would I go out of my way and work this hard to get with a woman when I can just use my hand? And like on the alternate, you might just download Tinder and talk to all these girls who are relatively down bad or whatever, and you might not even be attracted to these girls, but because you're so horny and you don't want to use your hand this time or something, you start talking to them, and then you feel this level of, I feel like I know a lot of people that say it's like when you start getting with like girls on Tinder or talking to them, you feel so shit because typically you're not getting with the girls that you actually want to get with, and you're not even really attracted to these girls, but you're horny, so you're letting it slide. And it's like, even when you like, even if you did get with them, like sometimes I would just like when I was on Tinder, I would only just talk to these girls, and then I would never actually link them because I knew that would really drag me down. So I would never actually link them. Just talking to them, I realized like, yeah, I don't want to do this, but it took a while, and I wasted so much time, like making the profile, swiping, talking, and engaging. I was like, this is such a waste. I could have allocated my time in a better way. But when you get with these girls, the personal clarity is gonna hit like crazy because, like I said, you aren't attracted to them. They aren't someone you would actually want to be with. You're just horny, and that horniness it creates this sort of like wall over your like decision making, your brain. Like it creates a cloud of lies that just tell you, yeah, you want to do this, yeah, do this. This is not that bad, but it's like all of that starts like adding up, and you'll have a big list of regrets as soon as you start getting like in this phase of not beating your meat, not being a cuck, not watching porn, and all of this. But you need to get to that point. You need to. It's prevalent for every man to get to that point, because if you don't, you're gonna be in this weird state, and you're just eventually gonna become an incel. And if you know what incels are on the internet, you don't want to be one of those guys. And also with this Tinder, it's just gives you such false confidence and bravado. It's like, yeah, maybe you get like every time I would make a Tinder, I would get so many matches off rip. And like I know some guys who get no matches, and honestly, that way is probably better because now you're not entertaining those conversations. Me, I would make the app, and immediately within like 10 minutes, I'll get like 20-30 likes, right? So I would like swipe right, and immediately it would be like conversations and stuff. And it gives you this idea that women are attracted to you and you can pull women easily. But it's like in real life, I wasn't able to talk to women, so it was like this was all bullshit. This was all this through a screen, and it was not real like skill of being able to pick up women, and I didn't want that. And so get rid of Tinder, get rid of any of those bullshit apps. They're all false confidence. They're all not women that you would ever want to be with. I've never met a girl on Tinder that I was like, yeah, she's bad. Like those girls that are actually bad are not even using the apps. So don't be using that shit. I remember reading this thing when I was looking into Reddit and stuff, and this guy really explained it really well. He said, strongly reinforcing stimuli such as porn, coffee, intense music, etc. creates a spike in dopamine, which will, as you already have noticed, make you feel good for a while. The thing is that your brain reacts to this kind of phasic firing by reducing the amount of dopamine receptors in the brain, and also desensitizes them to prevent overstimulation. This reduces the capacity for your brain to utilize your endogenous dopamine as efficiently as before, making you less motivated as soon as the dopamine spike has passed, and you consequently crash. On the other hand, exposing yourself to less consumed external stimuli and start engaging activities such as no fap, meditation, exercise, fasting, etc., during which your neurons are firing constantly for extended periods of time, also known as tonic firing, you will over time begin to experience a higher base level of motivation throughout your day. This is due to the resulting higher amount of dopamine receptors in your brain and their increased sensitivity. This phenomenon described in the second and third paragraph are known as downregulation and upregulation of dopamine receptors, respectively. And so when I read that, it was after I wrote all this shit. I wrote out 7 pages of my thoughts and stuff, and I realized what I was talking about, everything I was experiencing was normal, and I was on point with the data I collected. So this like backed it up because this was like a sciencey guy on Reddit. But I'm telling you, like the level of stimulation that you get from jacking off, and the dopamine you get is not good for you. It's not healthy. And if you want to become a man of self-improvement, a man of high value, a man who's worthy, in a sense, to like do things that are proper with his life, you know, make money, work hard, go to the gym, and just, you know, have proper stimulation levels in your brain, you need to start with this. This is what made me start. No Fap was like my introduction to like, not self-improvement. I always kind of cared about self-improvement, but more towards more dialed in, I guess. And because my stimulation levels came down, like now I'm able to do so much more than I was before. Like before, my mind would just always go back to like dirty thoughts because I was so like into like jacking off. And like even when you stop watching porn, like I stopped watching for years and I still would have like porn related thoughts. And then, you know, if you jack off, even though you don't watch porn, it's still like you still create those scenarios in your head, and it's all bad, right? So it took me a long time to get to a point where I'm not doing that anymore, and I'm at that point now for like 2, 3, 4 months now, and it feels so good. I'm able to do so much more without having like this constant urge to let me start scrolling on TikTok. Let me like I stopped watching TikTok. I stopped watching YouTube. I stopped doing all types of I stopped watch YouTube as long as it's like not entertain. I don't watch entertainment YouTube. I don't watch TV shows. I only watch things that are beneficial to me in a sort of informative way. Like if they're teaching me something, like this video, I hope to teach somebody or change even one person's like perspective on this. Then I can actually do that now, because before, when your dopamine levels are so high, you always want stimulation. You always need to scroll on TikTok. You always need to be listening to loud music. You always need to be watching some sort of TV show to keep yourself attentive, right? But now I'm able to like just sit down and do work. I'm able to go to work and do work without having to be like, oh my god, I hate my life, this and that. I'm able to, like, my stimulation levels are a lot more controllable now, and it wasn't like this before. And it's such a massive benefit, and you won't realize it till you're at that point. Like I didn't think this was gonna be where I was heading, but now that I'm here, I love it so much more because I'm able to do so much more deep work. I'm able to read books. I'm able to meditate. I stretch. My gym workouts are better. I sleep better. I'm not eating for no reason. I'm not thinking about women for no reason. I'm not dehumanizing women. I'm not jacking off. I'm not watching porn. I'm not doing none of that. So it's like there's so many benefits. You just need to do it.